Hey there. So this exercise we're doing that I posted on the exercises page is we're doing this. It's a very, very simple data visualization. Um, we're just making a bar chart, and the data that we're working with here is um, we've got all these different types of injuries down here. You can see in the labels. And then represented are a white bar for how many females are injured that way, and a black bar for how many males are injured. In this case, stairs, ramps, landings, and I think it's floors. So it's an interesting data set. I don't know, how much it tells us, but it's interesting. So this is what we're going to end up with. What you're starting out with is this sketch right here. So let's go over what this does. What we're doing here is you can see we're starting with empty arrays because in this case, we're not actually typing out all the data and putting it into the array. We're loading it in from a text file. So, and I'm using this editor instead of open processing because it allows us to see all the files that go along with this. So if I click on this, I can see these. So here are the three files that we're working with. Let's take a look at labels. Here are all the 16 labels that you saw before. And there's a corresponding text file for the male numbers. Again, 1 through 16 corresponding to 1 through 16 on the labels. And the same thing for the females. So in our sketch, we are declaring the array, and then we're using a function called load strings. It's going to grab all that information and turn it into a string, an array of strings. And we're using, and we're doing the same for labels, female and male. So these are going to turn into arrays by grabbing this information here. Every line break is going to be counted as another item on the array. Okay, back to sketch. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we're going to be basically drawing rectangles of different sizes across the screen. So obviously we're going to use a loop for that. But first thing we need to do is we need to get some numbers that we can actually work with. So if we just drew rectangles based on the actual numbers, we just have stripes because they'd be so tall all the way across. So we need to use the map function. This is a really good example of using the map function. We need to pare this down, squeeze it down to a size that we can fit in our canvas here. So in order to do that, before we start that, we need to know what is the largest number that's possible, and that will be our range. So we could obviously go in and pick the largest number here, but that's cheating. We're not going to do that because maybe we don't actually know. In another scenario, we wouldn't actually know that number. So we need to figure that out. So one way we could do it is we could say, go through the array and compare every number and figure out which one's the largest that way, and that would work. But there's a nice function called max that sort of does that for us. So I'm going to create a variable up here called max data that's going to store the largest number that exists in these two arrays. And under setup here, we want to figure out what that is. So I'm going to say max data and equals max, the function, and then I'm just going to give it the name of the array, and I'm going to start with male data. So it's going to check the male data first, and it's going to grab the largest number there. Let's print that so we can see. Pull the console up. Okay, so there, it pulled out the largest number from the array male data. Okay, now we have to do another step, because what if the female array actually has a larger number than the male array? We wouldn't want to use that. So we're going to use a conditional statement for that. So we're going to say if max data is less than max female data, if it's less than that, if female data is more, then make max data equal the female number. If it's not, then just leave it as the male. So, oops. Why is that doing that? So, okay, so it's going to check for that. And then let's just print that again to see what happens. Print max data. What am I doing here? Oh, I need another print. There we go. Yeah, and it did. It grabbed a larger number than before, because the largest number was in the female array. So okay, so we've got that. Okay. Now down here, let's create some loops to loop through those arrays and start drawing rectangles. So I'm going to say for let I equals 0, as long as I is less than, I'm just going to use the labels array because they're all the same length. Labels.length I plus plus. Okay, and let's see, let's make sure that this is working. So I'm going to say print female data at I. So each time through, it's going to print the next. And there we go. So it's doing it now. Okay, so that's working. Okay, so let's figure out how tall each bar is going to have to be. And to do that, we're going to make a variable, let bar h equals, and this is where we're going to map the values. So the values that we're getting are 0 to 19,000 something. What we want it to be is 0 to, let's say, 250 in this case. So we're going to give it the variable that we want it to map, female data I, so each position through the loop. And we're getting 0 to max data. We want 0 to 50. Okay. And then we'll use that. Did I do that right? Yeah. We'll use that to draw a rectangle. So it'll be the X will be, I want them to be 30 pixels apart. So I'm going to say 30 times I. So, so each time it'll be 30 more. The height is going to be 300. Well, let's see. Let's start it. I'll come back and we'll fix this. I just want to illustrate something. Start it at 100. And then we'll say, oh no, that's the Y. Yeah, the Y. The height is bar H, and I'm going to make it 10 wide. Okay, that's not right. What did I do wrong here? Let me go over and cheat and check up here. Oh yeah, I did that wrong. This is what it should be. So I'm saying 30, the x is going to be this, 30 times I, and I'm adding 30 to it because I don't want it to start at 0 right at the side. I'm going to push it over another 30 pixels. So the height is 300 minus the bar height because we want it to come up from the bottom, not down from the top. So it needs to be pushed down. The width is 10 and the height is bar height. That's gonna work. No. Why? Let's see. Bar height, you know, I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to steal all of this. The one that I know actually works. Okay, what did I do wrong there? I'm not totally sure, but I want to keep going with this. Let's do the next one. So we're going to do the loop for the male data. So again, labels.length is fine. And I'm going to change this to male. I'm going to have to take this off because, oh wait, I don't have to actually put that in a separate for loop, do I? Because it's looping through at the same rate. So I'm going to just copy this, put that down here, and then because it's all looping through the same number of times, so I'm just going to change that to male. And I've got to take let off here because I've already declared the variable up here. So take that off. So it's going to do the same thing, but I don't want it to draw right on top of the other rectangle. That wouldn't make much sense. So I'm going to push it over by another 10 pixels. I'm going to change that to 40 and I'm going to change the fill to black. There we go. There we go. We've got our bars. So now what we need to do is we need to add the labels to it. So again, we're going through the same number of times. We can put this in the same loop. And what we'll say is we're going to need to rotate, push, pop, and rotate for this. So I'm going to come over here and grab this code just to keep this short. Okay, so before I do any translating, I'm going to push first, and then I translate the X and the Y down to this position here. So it's going over to where the black one is situated, and it's moving it down by 310. I'm rotating it 30 degrees. And then text, I'm just drawing out the text the way it is at 0, 0, right there. And then I'm popping it off again. Oh, we need to make sure that we're in angle mode degrees. And there, it drew all the lines on there. So I hope that made sense. Not my best video ever, I think. But that's how you go around about making a bar chart. And yours doesn't have to be a bar chart. Try to get creative about this. Maybe you want to do things with circles. You know, use everything you know. Maybe you just want to use text somehow. I don't know. Go and look at what other students have done in the past. Go back to previous semesters and take a look at what they did. Some of them have gotten really creative. Maybe the size of the text represents the value of it, or something like that. Okay, I'm going to end this now. Go on and you'll find a link to the original the starting sketch, and then from there, as you watch this video, go through and turn it into what you see here. All right, good luck.